everybody, it's Melissa with Badash Publishing, and we are here to talk about what we've been doing this year and say hi to everybody at LibertyCon, because trust me, we horribly, horribly miss you, and I would much rather be going to LibertyCon in person than doing a video. But let's say hi to Doug.
What's up? Yes, I was hoping you wouldn't forget about me, but hey, everybody. I miss you all already. I miss you virtually. Big virtual hugs.
It has been almost 2 years since we have seen everybody. And me, for one, I feel like that is just way too long. So to toast everybody we're missing, here it is Friday that this is being recorded. And trust me, we really wish we were in the bar drinking with you guys rather than drinking at home.
Huzzah. I miss bars.
It's pretty sad when I actually miss people. But so when we last saw everybody, it was summer 2019. It was a glorious, glorious weekend. And we talked about a lot of stuff. And a lot of the things we talked about were stuff that I've been working on for the last 2 years. But the last year and a half or so has been a little bit more difficult than most. I mean, obviously, we had the whole drama with staying home, which I personally have loved because I've worked from home nonstop for the last year. I lost my father last summer, not to COVID, believe it or not, but just to failing health. And so that was a experience I would really like to never, ever repeat because it was the closest thing to hell that I've ever been through. I've lost a couple friends to COVID. I've spent way too much time dealing with people. And I'm really, really looking forward to getting to see everybody. So I almost cried when LibertyCon was canceled. I really did. But other than that, I've just worked. And I'll be telling you in a bit what I've spent the last 2 years working on, because actually, when I look at it, it's kind of impressive. But for right now, Doug has done a lot more interesting stuff over the last year than me, who has sat at home. This is my house, and this is pretty much the room I've been in for the last 2 years. So, Doug?
Yep. So what have I been up to? So we're at LibertyCon. We had just kicked out, I think we had just launched Betray. I
don't even think Betray. No, the only thing that was out was Rage. Was Rage.
Oh yeah, it was well, it was Rage. So yeah, so there's been 2 editions, actually 2 novellas that Badash Publishing has actually put into a novel themselves, so you can get the print copy inside of there. So we had we were just talking about Rage at LibertyCon, and then we had the Fight and Power, the 2 prequels, and then Betray came out. And by this time at LibertyCon, I should be talking about the release of Blood War Alliances to bookend that. But as most of you guys know, I'm a retired Army guy. And one of the things about the Army is they have a lot of schools. And, well, I retired because, my back went out and things like that. So it was time to hang up the boots. And I became
old.
Army civilian. I wasn't old. All right. I was not old. But I became a Department of the Army civilian. So I was kind of like, all right, so, I was institutionalized. So I just had to come back. Well, the next school that would have been in my Army career was the Army War College. And I applied and actually got accepted after the last LibertyCon. And so I have spent the last year as a senior service college fellow for the Army War College. So what that's done to Blood War Alliances is, as I was doing my 50-page research paper that was required in there on the riveting topic of emerging software developmental practices that best support the rapid integration of commercial off-the-shelf and government off-the-shelf software applications using commercial, agile, and Army.
I'm not letting him put this in any of the books.
It is
I promise you.
Riveting read, let me tell you. So now
I read it. It's not riveting.
You guys out there in the audience are going, "Whoa, Doug, I am so excited. Can we read that?" It's Badash Publishing publishing it. Unfortunately, it's proprietary government. It belongs to Carlisle Barracks in Pennsylvania and has to be released.
I refused.
So it's if you've ever read the 50-page research paper, it doesn't have graphs and pictures in it. It's all words. I'm telling you, I've cured insomnia with this. If you're in the software community, yeah, it's really interesting. But instead of writing, so I had that. And inside of that, I probably have, I think it's 98 referenced studies, documentations, thesis, and all that from the commercial side. But besides that, this 2-foot 4-inch stack of books here, and we'll get to these later because I know you're turned on by this, right? That's what I was going through as Melissa was badgering me constantly about when his alliance is done. And the plot is done. And as a matter of fact, at this point in time at LibertyCon, I am already well into production on this. And a certain publisher is going to have to owe me an apology, but we'll get to the thrilling, absolutely thrilling insight into what goes on at the Army's Senior Service College and what I've learned in depth. It's going to be amazing. Hold on to your seats. Mel's got some other book publishing stuff to talk about, but we'll get to the cool stuff here soon. Trust me. We'll get back.
I have threatened to hurt him if he turns in anything to me that's an APA format.
Oh, we're going to talk about that later too.
No.
Okay, now that she said the word, and I'll just run with this at this point. APA is absolutely my arch nemesis on the planet. I want to find the Psychological Association people who came up with this, and we're going to play a game of Wee Jambot, and I get to go first.
Like I said, his summer was much more book oriented or actually last year was more book oriented than mine was. He was reading all these big, weighty, boring tomes. I, on the other hand, was writing and publishing. So
I forgot. Here's the other thing that I'm mad about. Okay, this is what I'm mad about. Well, besides the horrible thing that COVID was and all that. One of the reasons I signed up to go to the Senior Service College is because we were supposed to be going on what's called a staff ride, where they take everybody and do a military history thing through the peninsula of Italy in March and April, starting at the invasion of Sicily and then just taking a 2-week trip up the coast of Italy, going to all the back. 2 weeks in Italy in the spring. I mean, okay, now I'm even more pissed. But okay, go back to what you were talking about.
Okay. Obviously, he had talked about it. This is why he signed up for this. And then the pandemic came and that all got canceled. So rather than him spending the last year traveling all over the world, he spent it in his bedroom on Zoom calls. You should actually almost feel sorry for him. I do. I
stole my chair from
avoided.
My office, by the way.
Normally, my camera is. I'm sorry, I don't have a camera. Most of the time, lie and say it's not turned on. Okay, so let's actually talk about books and LibertyCon, because we all know that one of the best things about LibertyCon is getting to meet other authors and see new things to read and stuff. So when we were last there, we had, of course, talked about Blood War, and we're still only have Betray out. I promise at some point the series will be finished. He just needs to quit having all of these excuses like writing 50-page papers. I don't understand what he's talking about. But last time I was at LibertyCon, I was talking about my Caleb series. That series actually got completed in early 2020. I published the last book, which was called Family. There are 5 books in the series. See, look. Family. This is the last one. And I actually completed the series. Now, as much as I loved Caleb, it wasn't quite as much to market as what I really needed it to be. And that being said, it wasn't not to market, but it's really hard sometimes to break out when you're writing something that's a little bit off to one side. So I tried another series. And again, it's a little bit off to one side because I'm the one who's writing it, of course. It's called the Twisted Luck series, and this is an urban fantasy. I am just, and by just, I mean on April 14th. Yeah, April 14th, I published book 4. So I have book 1, book 2, book 3 and book 4 of the series out, and it's really taken off. I mean, like, I'm looking at the sales going, wow, people like this series. And this is probably one of the series I've had the most fun with because it's science-based magic. So rather than it just being, oh, I have all these spells I have to learn or everything else, you actually have to learn the science to be able to use the magical gifts you're given. There's also flesh-eating unicorns, gorgons, talking cats, rips in space to other realms, government conspiracies, and a very, very confused main character who just wishes everybody would go away. Now, Doug has been my primary beta reader along with Seska. Seska Smalls is, I owe her so much. I will talk about her. I will even tell her that I'm talking about her. But she's read a lot of these too, and they've both given me great feedback and have helped crack the whip to make sure that I'm still writing on the series. I'm currently working on book 5. I have 2 novellas ready to go that are a part of this world. And right now I've got it plotted out to be about 10 books. So if I keep seeing the sales and the interest that I have so far, I'm definitely going to be writing this series all the way to the end.
And with her humility, she's leaving out, what was it, last week? The series books were like number 1, number 4, number 7, and number 8 all at the same time.
On a couple lists, yeah. I did hit number 1 the week after release. I hit number 1, and if you looked at, like, I think it was like 3 different lists, all 4 of the books were in the top 10 of each of those lists. So that little number 1 sticker was really cool to see. Unfortunately, it always drops as other books come up, but it's really nice to, you make sure you screenshot that really fast so that you get that number 1.
I don't want to give any spoilers on it, but there's a sentient blob in there, which I think is pretty nifty.
It's not a blob. It's okay. Blob might be I think eldritch horror without the eldritch part. Maybe.
Just horror? Wrong genre.
It's not horror. So the running joke in the series
thing, and when it moves across the yard, it leaves dead spots. So your HOA would hate it.
Yeah, Bob is not a good guest. He's a horrible, horrible guest. You never want to invite him over to any parties at all.
That's Bob. That's Bob. Right. That's some Bob.
Well, Bob isn't Cthulhu. Quite. Bob is Bob. I mean, you're asking me to define Bob. It's kind of like trying to define Yahweh. Bob is Bob.
He's not Cthulhu. It's a whole copyright thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, he is absolutely not Cthulhu. Absolutely. He has a better sense of humor.
That's true. That's true. Although the bloodthirsty man-eating unicorn is kind of hip too. I like that.
Celistra is.
Whoa, don't go too many spoilers now.
No. Take every mean girl you've ever met, who's absolutely perfect. Shove them into the body of a unicorn with fangs that has no problem eating people. That's Celistra. She's quite wonderful, if not deadly. Okay, can you tell that these characters have taken over? I have people asking me about the familiar, about the Gorgon, about all of the things that's just going on in this series, and it's pretty amazing. So all I can do is say I'm going to keep writing and hope that people continue to enjoy the series as much as what I've been enjoying writing it. Now, your choices are, and unfortunately, if you are here listening to us live, I could say what your choices are, but Doug wants to talk a little bit about just some of the stuff he's actually learned. And he's actually sent me 2 of the books that he's gotten that are actually fascinating books. I think they were probably the only 2 that were actually fascinating books. And one of them I plan on using. I actually need to look at it tonight when I'm working on some scenes I have. But we all know that we would much rather be at con and be shoving our books at you going, no, really, you want to buy it. Don't you want to buy all 4 of them? Or, oh, this entire other series too? But since we can't do that, what we do have, if you would like, is if you leave a comment
I make money if you
on,
these.
yes, he does. I make money too. If you leave a comment on this when it airs, I have free audio codes to book 1 and 2 of the Twisted Luck series through Find a Way. So if you would like to
That's
get
something
a
you
free
forgot
audio book,
to mention in there too.
yes, I have audio
You're
books.
doing audiobooks now.
I have the first 2 done for Twisted Luck, and my narrator, the incredible Autumn Juliet, is working on book 3 right now. And then she'll start book 4, and hopefully by the time she's done with those 2, I'll have book 5 done. But if you would like a free audiobook, I have 10 of each. And so the first people to post on this when it goes live and say, hey, I want that audiobook, you will get a free audiobook from Find a Way, because that's where I'm doing all of my promotion, or not my promotions, my publishing of audiobooks through is through Find a Way for various reasons. If you haven't been following the ACX debacle, it's kind of embarrassing and frustrating, to be honest. But we do have that. And then in a little bit, we will talk to you about what's going on for the rest of the year. But Doug, why don't you take it over and talk about what you've actually done for the last year in War College, besides whine about APA formatting?
Well, that was half of it. Okay, so what the Army War College does is get you to start doing strategic thinkery and thinking about thinking, which basically includes reading a bunch of stuff and telling people what you think about it, and write down what you think about it, and then think about what you wrote about, and then discuss what you think that you wrote about, and then think about it some more, and then think about how it related to everything else that you've been talked about on Zoom conferences and everything else. So it's
Can you see why I'm worried about him?
so, but the good news is before you see me next, I'll have taken several weeks leave from this course is done, and I will do a mind wipe. And I won't be thinking about thinking anymore. I'll be thinking about Blood War alliances and getting that out to you guys.
And he even has a con in between that might help, allow the alcohol to wash away some of the corruption that has seeped into his brain.
So as I'm in a time machine right now, what had occurred is I have graduated on a Tuesday, and then on a Thursday morning, I will have gone to Fantasy. And I loved seeing all you guys there. We had a great time. What stays at Fantasy, what happens at Fantasy stays at Fantasy, you know what I'm saying? All right. Okay. So let's talk about the Army War College. And I was thinking about thinking. This book actually fell on the floor, and I just found it here about a minute ago. I don't know what it was. So, nobody will play with me, using compassionate curiosity to find confidence in conflict. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to reach into the cosmos, and we're going to play a game called Keep It. Should I put this on the bookshelf in the office and show everybody I'm a smart guy, or should I can it? So we're going to search the universe. So
I'm thinking that we should be doing a survey of how many drinks do you think Doug is owed for having to suffer through this for the last year?
I would say about a case each would get me through about the next 2 weeks. So this book is a powerful, compassionate curiosity for that's a canon. I sensed through the universe already. You guys didn't like it. I got you. Now, they give us a couple of these little books here. So hopefully you guys see this. This one is George Washington. That guy. The George Washington. Not George Washington, your barber. The George Washington. Maybe your barber wrote a book. I don't know. But this is the General George Washington. Rules of chivalry and decent behavior.
Okay, wait. You have to remember who we're talking about. It doesn't apply to any of these guys.
Some may, because there's some gems in here. So, let your countenance be pleasant, but in serious matters, somewhat grave. That's a good one there. Wait a minute. Here's one that relates to everybody, if my publisher listens to it. Be not tedious in discourse or in reading, unless you find the company pleased therewith.
Well,
All
good.
right.
I'm awesome company, and I'm
Yeah,
never
I'm thinking,
tedious.
and so it's a whole bunch of these, and there's 110 that ends with labor to keep alive in your breast that little celestial fire called conscience. Group, we're gonna keep
Okay,
this one.
everything that I want to say is a political hotcake, so I will have a drink instead.
No, I don't do politics. APA rules and format for I'm not even asking.
Throw, toss.
Yeah, no. Declaration of Independence Pocket Edition. You got to keep this one. This should be in your zombie apocalypse bug out bag because when you rebuild society, you got a template to go with. All right. Oh, effective dissertation and thesis. Canon that shit. All right. I mean stuff. Sorry. Shrunk in White, the elements of
It sucks. I don't even want you using that for writing. Get rid of it. It sucks.
Orthodox.
It's wrong.
Orthodox spelling.
It's wrong.
I use the squiggly red line spelling function. So
okay. So this is a publisher rant. Shrunk in White actually put wrong stuff in their book, and there are huge forums and stuff about it, about all the mistakes they make and how they tell you to write. So please, God, do not follow Shrunk in White as the end all be all of how you should write. Look at other stuff, mimic your favorite authors. Look at David Weber. David Weber at least is interesting to read. Shrunk in White is just confusing and pedantic, no matter how much I happen to like E.B. White's Charlotte's Web. No, don't, please. Your publisher, your editor, your fans will thank you.
Blowing up spaceships and stuff.
It's always better.
All My Sons. Now, this is funny. All My Sons by Arthur Miller. I did not expect that the Army War College was going to have me reading, not even reading, but discussing Arthur White plays. Now,
Arthur Miller.
That's how much I dug it.
Okay, so just so everybody's refreshed, he also wrote Death of a Salesman, which is what he's actually mainly known for.
All literary classics. The content I had no beef with. They gave us the screenplay, and not only the screenplay, but it looked like it was Xeroxed from some manuscript of the screenplay. I got through about 9 pages of this, not because of Arthur Miller's words, because of the person walks in from the left, picks up tea bag and stirs cup stage shit. I watched it on YouTube. Do the whole thing. I'm already graduated, so at this point, I watched it on YouTube. Gettysburg Campaign, really slick. We actually went out to the Gettysburg battlefield and didn't walk through the battlefield stuff. We talked about leadership and ramifications and, much more strategic level. But
note that this is one of 2 times all year that he actually got to leave his house.
Yeah, it was actually 1 of 2 times all year, and it was right at the end of the course, and the weather was nice. It was high 70s, low 80s inside of there, so it was actually a really good time. I'd read a bunch about the Battle of Gettysburg before, but it's always neat because we actually had from one of the universities in Washington D.C. actually had a Gettysburg historian come up, give us all the backstories, inside scoop. Besides just who shot John,
Well, wait. On Facebook, right after you did this, you and somebody else were going back and forth about the 20th Brigade Battalion.
It was the 1st Missouri, which I did.
1st Missouri.
I don't want to get into the whole thing, but essentially there was a hole in the line, and you had a Army of Northern Virginia with about 1,800 soldiers. This is a smaller part of the battle, but it was crucial along the main line in the center, right at Pickett's Charge. And there was a hole. And when the North found the hole, the only people there was about 220 soldiers from the 1st Missouri, and they were faced off essentially against about 1,800 plus battle-hardened, very good Northern Virginia sword, and they were just coming right at the hole, and they were going to break the line. So the 1st Missouri was asked to essentially the entire lines of defense. They were asked to attack because they had to disperse, leave the Union lines and attack this formation and slow it down so that they could get reinforcements in to hold the position. And they did. 100% of the soldiers all charged. Basically a holding action where they were all assured to die. Only 47 survived. But they not only held for the 5 minutes that they needed to hold, they held for 10 minutes and allowed the Union forces to reinforce the line. So I did not know.
So I am fully expecting some of this to seep into your books. I mean, I think I should at least get some benefit from losing you from writing for a year.
I'm going to have to make much more friends to kill. All right. So, hey.
No, demons. There's lots of demons.
We'll talk about Dragon Con, stuff like that. I'll be taking up names to kill more people. Let's see. The soldiers load.
Whoa, wait. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
They're books. They're not going anywhere. We are going to need people to redshirt. So how should we let people volunteer to die gruesome deaths in our books, or in my case, sometimes just be an NPC that wanders through? Should we do a lottery on this video? Should we make them ask a question? Maybe they have, let's see how well people pay attention. They have to give the name of one of the books you're going through to get redshirted.
Ooh, that's true. All right, now they're really going to have to pay attention for that.
I know. I'm totally mean.
I like that. Normally, I just have them buy me a beer. But
yeah, but it's virtual, and unless you want to put your PayPal information there for them to throw money at you. I think they have to name one of the books.
Properly give the first, properly give the name of the book, and then your physical description into the chat, and we'll reach out to you to register.
However, nobody gets to use the Declaration of Independence. Sorry.
No, but they can use Coleman's Empowering Yourself.
Toss. Yeah, no, just toss.
Yeah, I think you're right. So that goes to the toss pile. The Psychology of Ethics, which provides a
If it makes you feel guilty, don't do it. Well, why do they complicate this stuff? If it makes you feel guilty, don't do it. There's your ethics.
This one I actually liked. This one's called The Fearless Organization, Creating Psychological Safety in the Workplace for Learning, Innovation, and Growth by Amy Edmondson. This one was actually pretty good. This talks about, it says fearless organization, but psychological safety was a topic that came up. It's really talking about how to set up an environment for your employees, your workforce, your teammates, where they're free to challenge you, and they understand that their ideas are good. So that you're not tamping down good ideas and good efforts and good concepts by people who are playing follow the leader and or. So fearless organization, I actually recommend if you're in that business.
We're going to have to market this video as, come here, Doug, talk about how not to be a good leader, or which books to select to be a good leader. It has nothing to do about writing.
It's all politics.
Which is one of the ones that I need because I suck.
Kathleen rearing into this one. This one is actually kind of a hoot because you read, okay, a big part of this is a bunch of touchy-feely, huggy stuff. You can hug your employees, right? No, don't do that. Don't run around hugging all your people. It's probably one of these books somewhere. They mean metaphorically, like mentally hugging your folks. This one, it's all politics. Winning in a world where hard work and talent are not enough. What I like about Reardon's book is she actually got kind of realistic about a lot of this stuff. And politics in the office is a thing. And she says the word Machiavellian quite a few times inside of there, but what she's trying to get to is there's some techniques that are kind of Machiavellian that you can use, but use them the right way and don't use them too much. So it's an interesting read. It's not It's not a heavy read, but it's actually pretty well researched.
See, that's the one that goes on the pile to bring to me so that I can read it. I need that
do
one.
that. This one, military. Gray Eminence, Fox Connor and the Art of Mentorship. Now, Fox Connor was we're talking like World War I to the interim warriors, World War I, World War II. Interesting to learn about him. Horribly written. But I just couldn't get across. I just couldn't get past the part. Part of the thing is the guy who wrote this was actually going through the Army War College at the time and basically just wrote a really, really long paper and then just decided to publish it about history. There is a picture in here somewhere. You won't be able to see it anyway. I couldn't get past. He's talking about Patton, and this whole thing inside of there. And the picture he chose for Patton is literally a picture of Patton on a boat in civilian clothes holding a big fish. I'm like, what the hell is that? Every picture of Patton copyrighted, but this dumb picture, I couldn't get past it.
Okay, so we know that you're over and done with the thinkery stuff, but I believe you mentioned that you thought you had a plot written for alliances. Though we're still arguing if it should be alliances or ally.
I say alliance because it's
alliance.
Yes. So when you've been reading through the Blood War series, you remember it was the post-war start of the story and the struggles of the surviving veterans as they reintegrate in society and society rebuild itself. Then the prequels, which was the war itself, and then you had Betray, which is really starts where I got to actually start throwing in like government conspiracies and shadowy bad guys and some of the other races really that exist beyond just the demons start popping in.
Just to remind people, demons, angels, and fae.
Yep. So alliances, everyone's got to pick a side. So everyone's got to decide where they want to go because there's something big happening. And it's in the plot. Mel doesn't believe this, but at this point, she would have because I will have shown it to her. But yes.
I would like to offer people drinks as to whether or not he actually shows me anything that's written out and has something folder that we can start writing.
It's in the Dropbox. It's on the plotter.
Plot goes here, doesn't qualify.
As I was saying, so part of my job and my training was also learning. We have books on one of which I've actually gone into gestures, do's and taboos of body language around the world. So like Hang Loose as a historical documentation for this gesture, Dante in his Inferno. Okay, well, it's a cool book. I don't really remember where I went with whole Dante's Inferno.
Oh, no, come on. We should know this. Don't rub your nose like this. This is the sign for peace. This is not a polite sign in Britain.
So all my cultural stuff, to be honest, this stuff actually is a keep because we're all going in the writer's files for you for background and color, especially because in alliances, you're going to have a lot more international stuff. As a matter of fact, the first scene in alliances starts at Manila International Airport. So
honestly, one of the books that he had to read that he did send to me because I was like, I want, is called Kiss, Bow, or Shake Hands. And it's fascinating. It goes through every single continent and the different cultures and just talks about how you interact with people and what's considered polite or not. You know, most of us know that when you're meeting with Chinese or whatnot, you bow as opposed to shaking hands, but it talks about that. It talks about how you act at dinner. It talks about how business meetings are different. And it's actually a very interesting book. I need to read some more about it because Japan and my character have issues for various reasons. Okay, so we have a little bit of time left and Doug still has a lot of books. So what I want you to do, Doug, is rotate your books so people can see them and pick out the two that you actually thought were useful. Like I said, I kept Kiss, Bow, and Shake Hands because it's just truly a fascinating book. Oh, see, look, I'm making him think again. I am truly
Well,
an
I
evil
didn't
person.
get to. I had a funny comment about. I have a book called Brief, with 300 pages about the most unbrief way to say be short and concise in your directions and discussions. But the two, and it's mostly because the amount of tabs and all that. The one was Full Spectrum Thinking. Now by Bob Johansson. You can actually look at his TED Talk. So he's a futurist, all right? So he's kind of a historian of the future, conceptual applications. But his book, How to Escape Boxes in a Post-Categorical Future, it's really about second and third order effects predictively in how futurists think and how they apply. And there's a lot of he really goes into technology. You can tell because I got like 7 little tabs inside of here where he brings up different items. But that's actually one, Full Spectrum Thinking. If you really want to go into how predictive analysis works in the concepts of global economics, global politics, how history could repeat itself. I don't want to say history does repeat itself, because part of the thing is history could repeat itself if certain conditions align and things like that. But Full Spectrum Thinking was actually a really good one. The other one actually probably got me thinking the most introspectively was a book called Range. And it's Why Generalists Triumph in a Specialized World. And this is a thicker book. So if you like the researchy type, and if you want to get into psychology and physiology, this actually compares several studies where some of them are really old studies where psychologists actually raise their kids, and I'm going to raise my kids to be a piano prodigy. And they train their kid and this, that, and the other, and became either the best chess player or the best child, prodigy piano player in the world. But that is literally the only thing that they could do. They're the best at what they could do, but are they functional for the other aspects? And this actually talks about how generalizing and changing careers and things like that actually benefit your style and management, leadership, and also your creativity. And it talks about a lot of scientists that made their greatest discoveries in life in their 60s and 70s because they were in a completely different field, in their 40s and 50s. And then when they're in their 50s, decided, hey, I want to go look at this. This looks interesting. And they learned a new trait, but they carried with them the range of skills and ideas and out of the box thinking of another field, bringing it into a new structure, and how they could literally see things that other people who'd studied that field for the last 6 years couldn't, because that's all they saw, all they knew. So
because they were outside the paradigm.
Yeah, that's David Epstein. I know we only got about 15 more minutes or so, but there's a big giant ass stack of here. So
turn it so people can see.
If you want to talk about leadershippery thinking, about thinkery type stuff and all that, come find me. I will sit down and I will discuss your first 90 days in the new job plan, or creative leadership version 2, because apparently they're not enough in version 1. How to go from good to great, credibility, brief. Oh my God, another APA manual. That one I didn't even crack, because at that point I just had it. And I'm like, I'm just going to do what they tell me. Crucial conversations and crucial accountability. All of this stuff I go through. Believe it or not, I read most of these. Some of them I actually skimmed.
Actually, I was going to say
YouTube videos inside of there, but it's a lot of stuff, and it really did help me start thinking about things different ways and analyzing it. Even reading books like these are all fancy science. He wrote a book about how to be a great leader. Well, he actually has no credentials, no credibility, and his thesis sucks, and he doesn't support it well. So there was a couple of them that I found that were kind of that way.
I know the nonfiction book that I've been reading that is not craft-based is called Anti-Fragile. And if anybody wants to talk about how to be anti-fragile as opposed to robust, you got to take a look at this book. It's one of those that I actually think is probably one of the most interesting books I've ever read. And I am literally reading it 1 or 2 pages a night, because it's so dense that it takes me that long to let it sit and process through my brain. But we want to get on to the fun stuff. So we've talked about books. I have a lot of books out. They're all in Amazon. So is the Blood War series, the Twisted Luck series. Everything's in Kindle Unlimited for various reasons. If you want to argue with me, please come find me and I will explain to you exactly why my stuff is in Kindle Unlimited. But we've also got, besides the audiobooks, we will be at Fantasy. Now, everybody's going to be watching this after Fantasy. So I'm going to make a couple assumptions. Hopefully I've gotten to see Terry Maggart. I hope I get to see David and Sharon Weber. I hope I get to see Seska, though that's kind of cheating because I get to
Kevin
see
Robb, peace out. Had a great time with you at Fantasy. Can't wait for Dragon Con, baby.
That brings us to Dragon Con. We are working on the assumption, the hope, the prayer that Dragon Con will not be virtual this year. I would really like Dragon Con to be a real live physical thing. That being said, we are both going to be there. I am waiting until we get closer to figure out how I'm going to sell books. But if the fantasy track still has their fantasy gather, I will definitely be there. He will be there. We will have all of the books there. We will have them on sale that you can buy them. So you can buy like the entire set of things, which hopefully by then I might have
panels we're going to be on
new ones.
Dragon
Con doesn't even know what panels there are going to be yet.
Yep. But we're both guest there, so we'll be on something. Find us.
Yes.
Virtual hub.
We will be doing readings. We will be available. You know, realize that I am not a night owl. If you try to find me at 2 a.m., I can pretty much guarantee you I'm in my hotel room with blankets pulled up over my head, passed out. But we do have
at the bar. I'll be down at the bar. Oh, wait, sorry. Okay. I'm sorry, man. Go ahead. Continue.
Party animal. That sleepyhead.
Disco ball effect on this. Can I do that?
Yeah, well. But I know that Doug has got some other books that he is planning on writing after he is done with Alliances. We're still arguing as to whether or not there will be more Blood War books. I've been talking to a couple other authors about other things that we can do. I should have both bookmarks and ribbons. I do not have any Twisted Luck ribbons. I don't know if people would like them. I've been thinking about it, but I've also been thinking about maybe getting some pins. So there's all of these things going on.
Hey, we missed all the anthologies. You and I have both been
that's right.
Anthologies along the way. I actually, because I was in it, I love the Storm in Area 51. I thought that whole thing was funny as hell. You know,
that is right.
Great anthology.
Forgot about that.
It's like 9 inches thick. The thing is huge. It's got you got to get the Storm in Area 51 anthology.
Storming Area 51. It is still available on Amazon. I want to say there are 34 stories in it. I have one. Doug has one. They're not written together. They're two totally separate stories. I'm also in another anthology called Heart's Enchantment, which is a fantasy romance short story anthology. And so what I mean is they are short stories that are in a fantasy world and they have an element of romance in them. It's not a huge element, but it is an element of romance. In fact, I think I'm the first story in Heart's Enchantment on that one. So I should remember to talk about it more. And I think, unfortunately, I don't have a way to edit this, but right now, assuming the beta readers don't hate my story, I should be in an anthology being done by 20 Books to 50K called the Urban Fantasy Solstice Anthology. And it's an original story. It has nothing to do with any of my worlds. It's just a story. And then the other story that I have submitted to, I have zero, not even a clue as to whether or not the story has been accepted, but it's called, it came from the trailer park, Rules of Engagement. That one's being done by Three Ravens Press. Now, I'm going to be arrogant and hopeful here. I think there's a pretty good chance my story will make it in it. But
I've read that one. It's a great story. And if the rest of the stories are anywhere like Melissa's, where I'm buying this book because it's hilarious. Tales from the Trailer Park. Where can this go wrong, right?
Yeah, it's a funny story. Like I said, Three Ravens is the one doing that one. So I'm hopeful, but they may say, nope, not interested. We didn't like it. And in which case, I'm publishing the darn story by myself because it's a really, really cute story. It's so the entire thing behind that anthology was how would you deal with world ending if you were, quote, trailer park trash? And so I took it to being like redneck and everything. And I played on a trope that I love. And it's a trope I really need to play more with because it's such a fun trope. But that humans look at anything with fur and legs and go, oh, puppy. And we tend to go, oh, don't you want a treat? Even if said creature has the possibility of biting off our hand. That's just how we tend to react. And so that's the trope I went with this story was that the main character basically saw animals from another place that was attacking Earth and went, oh, they're so cute. And well, I mean, if you're going to be beaten or said, oh, you're so cute, which way are you going to go? I mean, not that hard of a choice. But we've got that coming up. God, what else do we have going on? I know that you've talked to me about stories. I know that I have 3 or 4 more other stories that I want to write in the Twisted Luck series. So one of the things about this series is magic appeared on Earth in the 1850s. So it kind of changed reality. So there's all of this other stuff like the fact that, oh, all the reservations in our world are actually individual nation states that nobody can go into because the American Indians went no and kicked everybody out. And it's you don't go there.
Sweet.
that they treat magic different, and I've only mentioned it in the books. So there's all this stuff I want to talk about the fact that Rasputin really was a mage, about the fact that the reason we bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki was a mage tried to teleport with the nuclear bomb and accidentally set it off. Japan's not happy with us. They're kind of xenophobic.
Angle in there is sweet though. So would you guys pick up on it? Because I've been telling Mel I want a novella on Rasputin in this whole thing because it was when she threw the first bit about Rasputin. I'm like, oh, I want to pull that thread to pull it out.
Yeah.
Actually, I think when I was beta reading her, I think I sent her an email. It says, I want the Rasputin thing. Go with it. Go more.
Well, but it's a whole world. Just because the current story I'm telling happens in current day, it happens in Atlanta and the US. But magic exists in Africa and Korea, and every single country treats mages differently. They have different ideas of what's considered proper. They have different ways that they view it. The only thing that is consistent through all of the worlds is every mage has a tattoo on their right temple, and this is my right side, I swear, has a tattoo on their right temple that says what type of mage they are. If you are a Merlin, which is the highest level of mage, you have 3 because you have access to all 3 classes of magic. So it's been fun. I mean, the characters are very, very much addictive between Corey and Carillion and Georgaz and Tirsain and Joe and Save. I have a lot of characters.
I will throw out though. Right, so this is me horning in. Don't everybody tell me. Normal for a second here. So by the time you get this, I'm going to be well into alliances. But the teaser for the future. I've been doing a lot of Googling research while I was in a bunch of Zoom classes. Don't tell everybody. All right. So while I was getting speaking to about leadershipy stuff, Madagascar. Just throwing it out there. Madagascar.
I want this story. It's so good.
It's telling you it's gonna be sweet. First, we're gonna finish up the arc here on Blood War. Just think, keep in mind, Madagascar, not the rodent thing, all right? Although it's a cute movie, I really enjoy it. King Julius and all. Great musical too. I love it. Love it. I'll sing musicals for you if you want. There is nothing like a dame. Nothing in the world. There's nothing you can name that is anything like a dame. Not that. Not that Madagascar. Well, that was actually South Pacific, right? So totally different island, different ocean, even. Yes, yeah. One was Pacific, the other ones. Besides the point, I'm researching Madagascar. A little spoiler there.
They think Madagascar, Eureka, and Jurassic Park all kind of mixed together.
Wait. All right. Okay. Four Horsemen just ran away with my entire idea. Thanks, Melissa.
Oh, please.
All right. I'm going to call Eichenberg and tell him he can't have it.
It's our story.
Brother, beloved, brother.
I have a visitor. See my visitor? That is Manic stalking through like the very important cat that he is. He's an arrogant alien spy at that.
Overlord wars against the cats. Oh yeah.
Okay. Other than that, the only other thing on my calendar, and it's just my calendar at the moment, besides Dragon Con, is supposed to be Superstars of Writing in February of 2022. At the moment, I'm all paid up. Let's see if it actually goes off, because it was canceled this year. I was supposed to be there this year. They canceled it and pushed it off till next year. I have not decided on anything else this year. I may just sit home and write. I may crack the whip and make him sit at home and write. Because
you have a job.
So many stories to tell you. Day job.
I'm defending democracy and freedom and stuff, and not Space Force though.
I'm pretty sure you're earning money to pay your mortgage.
That's true. That's true. But Space Force, I'm gonna get my kids to join Space Force. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do that.
I know your kids.
Space Force Dad. I'm gonna put.
No. You still got a few years to try to convince number 3.
That's true.
Number 1 isn't happening. Number 2 isn't happening. Number
1 is doing graphics design for a startup pet food company actually right now, and doing graphics.
Would have no desire in Space Force at all.
I don't think she was very interested in pet food, but it's a job. So.
Money. We all like money.
Yeah.
I only have
LibertyCon people are by the back door and they're flashing you the 8-minute warning sign. I don't know what that means. You don't have to clear the room.
People.
I'm not.
Okay.
I gotta get all these damn books off of here. Actually, like the 2.5 feet of books I gotta move. But really, I could just sit here and drink. Because to be honest, I put my chest.
It's Friday. We both had.
How many beers did Doug pour in this virtual panel? And the winner of it gets rich. No,
it's Friday.
It was a trash can.
We have all had a long week. So remember that we've got.
Yeah, I think your brother's in the mirror behind you.
Well, that would probably be because he just came home.
Yeah.
I have a very large, active family life. Don't ask. Remember, you can find our books on Amazon. You can find us at Badash Books on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter. Not that I ever say anything in Twitter, and I'm going to have to throw things. I hope that isn't too loud. And right now, if you go to Facebook, my wonderful, wonderful narrator, Autumn Juliet, has a sample thing with some of the voices of some of the characters that if I was better with videos, I'm just not a super huge video person, but if I was better in videos, I'd figure out how to tack it to the end of this. But she does some of the voices of the characters that will be in book 3. Other than that, I will hopefully see everybody at Dragon Con. And if I do not, I swear I will see everybody at LibertyCon next year in 2022. And maybe by 2022, I will even have more good news to talk about, but that's a year away. It's been, the last 2 years have had a lot of changes. We've had a lot of death. I miss me. I actively miss people. So I cannot wait to see everybody again. I'm about ready to start throwing mini cons just to say, hey, I'm having a con at my house. Bring food and we'll sit and talk. So, Doug, tell them what you've got going on, and then we will let you guys go on to the next panel. And hey, stay in touch. You can always reach me at my email, which is Melissa at Badash Publishing. And for friends on Facebook, ping me. I almost always respond, as long as you are not some random guy that I don't know that says, "Hi, how are you doing today?" I tend to look at those and go, delete.
I don't even get random guys, but hey, nothing but love. Virtual hugs, people. Respect. I will see you all soon. Be safe. It's me too. Cheers. Bro.
You can tell we've had a long wait. Remember,
Salud. Malagana Pasco.
find us on social media, buy our books, support the poor, poor mistreated authors because you love us so much. And other than that, if there's something you want to know or ask, we will be around when this is aired, and I am more than willing to answer most questions. I reserve the right to say, not answering that, but depends on how many drinks you promise to buy me at the next con. Doug, any last words?
Peace, people. Be safe. See you soon.
Bye, everybody.